Hey, what's up, guys? This is Ryan from one in the congregation. I just wanted to start out by saying, recently I was attacked by the devil, and this is something that was revealed to me in my prayers. The Lord spoke to me about 3 months ago. I woke up out of sleep and I heard the words, "A weapon is being formed against you." So I prayed a little further, asked the Lord what that meant, and He said, "There is a woman in your life that will come against you. She's indwelt with Satan, the spirit of Jezebel." I said, "Okay, I know two girls at work that I think might have that problem. Would it be them?" He said, "Yes, it's one of your coworkers." Okay, I was able to identify the coworker through prayer. So about a month goes by, nothing happens. I feel watched by her. I feel a little maybe harassed and treated differently. Definitely there was some sort of back and forth spiritual thing going on. Um, and she made a couple comments that were very off base. Hold on, I gotta turn on my robot. A couple of comments that were very off base and kind of seemed. She was basically attempting to attack me from the very beginning. And I struggled with this at first to not fight back. But knowing that she was already forming some sort of weapon against me, I was careful. And she said a lot of negative things to try to goad me into fights, to try to make me do something wrong. She would be very vulgar in nature, attempting to get me to react, or she would say things that were inappropriate, attempting to get me to be inappropriate. So there were multiple instances of this. I let it go, obviously, being very forgiving about it. But I think that it was very obvious, especially after praying and having that word come to me. So, with that being said, I just wanted to share the story of what actually transpired. So, that about month period between my prayer and this event occurring was, again, a period of turmoil between me and her. And I'm her boss, right? So, it was very difficult for me to know that this person was attempting to form a weapon against me and treat her the same, right? But I was able to. I found forgiveness for this person, treated her the same as everybody else, tried my best to make sure she's okay, but she still attacked me anyway. And this came in the form of a complaint. So at my job, there is this equal opportunity thing, right? So I guess she went out and decided that she wanted to say that I was a sexist and that I was treating women differently on our at our work center than I was men, which is interesting because I try to treat everybody as fairly as possible, but somehow she felt this way. Now I don't know if this was an attack in general because she doesn't like me. I've got the feeling from the very beginning that she doesn't like me, and I believe it's spiritual. I've actually prayed for this. I said, "Lord, if there are spirits in people, I pray that you would irritate them. I pray that you would bring them up, and I pray that I would recognize it so that I could cast them out." And I think that that prayer alone has caused me more turmoil in my life than any other prayer, because now I can't even walk into rooms with people without instant anger or attack. I'll have people I've never met before try to push me out of the way or get aggressive with me for literally no reason. So I know for a fact it's spiritual. And since I have been given a gift of eyes to see and discernment, I can see spirits in people. And I'm not always 100% perfect in identifying them off the bat, but after getting to know somebody, I can for sure tell what spirit they have. And this girl definitely has a strong Jezebel spirit. For those of you unaware who Jezebel is, she was the wife of King Ahab. She was very destructive in nature to the prophets of God and to King Ahab himself. She lied to him. She deceived many people. She was conniving, backstabbing, and just terrible in general. She went down a path of unrighteousness. She was the worship leader for a god known as Baal, or Baal, some people call him, which is one of the most hated gods of the Bible because it directly relates to Satan. He's the golden calf that you hear about in the Bible, the bull, the bulls of Bashan. All those things that you hear about, they're related to Baal or Baal, and this deity is literally a representation of Satan. So she was the worship leader for Satan at that time. One of the prophets, I cannot remember his name, but he came and Jezebel did not like the stuff that he was up to, so she had him killed. And so Yeah, she's ruthless basically, and desires power above all things. So whenever I see this in someone, this, by the way, this can exist in men and women, but it's more common in women. When I see this need to overcome power and the resistance to authority, the extreme resistance to authority, it's the number one sign. Especially if I'm, in my position, I'm in a position to give orders or direction. So when somebody resists that outright and tries to give me something back, without maybe like any sort of explanation for why they're behaving that way, it instantly cues me up to think this person has Jezebel. They cannot take direction. They cannot take order. They cannot take structure. They want to be in the lead. They want to be in charge, even though they don't have the time necessary to have done that, or the knowledge necessary to lead. They still desire it above all things. So that's the most detrimental thing about the Jezebel spirit. Anyway, I believe this person truly does have it in them, and I recognized that immediately upon meeting her. So I was already on my toes with this one. We'd already had issues with her in the past, and I kind of already knew something was coming, even before my prayers. And I'm just glad the Lord did direct me so that I could steer clear of her and stay away from any trap she might lay. But anyway, recently my leadership came to me, and I guess they think I didn't know an investigation was going on because they kept pulling people aside. But I'm very perceptive. As soon as they pulled people aside, I said, this is the attack. This is the investigation that God was talking about. I need to know nothing less. I see people going into that office. It's an investigation. And then sure enough, I started hearing rumblings of an investigation. And again, with my extreme perception, I could see eyes darting my way and darting away. I'm like, yeah, okay, this is a weapon formed directly against me. I know better. My leadership decided to bring me into a private conference with our higher level leadership and say, oh, well, we wanted the rest of your leadership here with you as well, but they're not here, so I guess it's just us. And I'm like, don't blow smoke up my ass. I know what this is. I was already warned by God. I've been months ahead planning on this, how to fight back. I know what's coming, and I'm fighting back. So, I'm going to be peaceful, respectful, and you have nothing to worry about from me directly unless this attack continues. So they were humble with it. They understood that it is like a he said, she said thing, and that people are not always truthful. So I thank the Lord for having leadership that has an semblance of God in their mind and in their heart, and that they are capable of critical thinking, and that they did not just go with their emotion, because I know that in these situations you can get pretty emotional. So anyway, kudos to them for that. But it was just fascinating. Today I was pulled aside and told these accusations, which are wildly, off base. Anybody who knows me knows not only does the language that was used are not things that I say or would say. I'm a Christian man. I would never say the things that were said. So it was just fascinating. I almost laughed out loud. I had a hard time not laughing because it was so absurd. I was like, have I ever sounded like that to you or anyone else? Does that sound like me? My leadership said, I've never heard you say anything like that. If anything, you've been nothing but polite. Yes, there are times where you drop the F-bomb, for instance, or you maybe say something that could potentially be taken out of context, but I've never been offended, nor has anyone else that I know. And I said, yeah, no one's perfect, and sure enough, I'm sure that I'm not either. And they were like, yep, no worries, you're good to go. Just wanted to make you aware that this is a problem, and that this potential person may still have issues, so, just treat them with respect and make sure that you are minding your P's and Q's around them. Cool, no problem with me. Anyway, with that to be said, cooler heads prevailed, which is great. That's all what we all should hope for. But God did tell me this weapon formed would not prosper. That promise from the Bible is true, and I believe that to this very day, God is watching me. He has me in his hand. Satan can do nothing to me. There have been so many weapons formed against me, whether it be this vaccine. When I told them, no, I will not get vaccinated, and the military attempted to force me, stole my assignment from me, started a process of writing me up falsely, harassing me. There were so many things that occurred that I could have fought back and been very nasty, because I know the law, and I know that I could have been very nasty back. And a lot of that anger in me was trying to come out, but God would not let me. God said, you stop, you stay clean, you stay clear. I'm handling this. And sure enough, here we are. Almost a year later, after going through a year of hell. I was trapped in my house, told not to travel, wear a mask, test every week. treated like I had a scarlet letter with the mask on my face. My entire leadership basically treated me different. I couldn't PCS. I couldn't get special assignments. I couldn't TDY. At one point they wanted to make it so we couldn't rank up. My EPR was marked down. A lot of bad things occurred to me that were under the guise of, well, that's just how it is. This has nothing to do with your intention to not get vaccinated. But somehow I went from a absolutely stellar worker that is among the best to, that guy, he kind of sucks, overnight, right? So interesting change. But anyway, with that being said, even that weapon formed against me did not prosper. And there have been weapons throughout my life that have been built against me. And for those of you who are not spiritual, those of you who are not Christian, you may never have had a weapon built against you. You may never have had a problem. And the reason is the devil's not seeking you. The devil's not seeking to destroy you. He already knows you're destroyed. Unfortunately, that's the truth. He knows that you're already in your squalor. You're already living that filthy lifestyle. You don't recognize it, but that's where you stand. So the devil has no reason to attack you. You're in his kingdom. And even if that's just minor deception, that's all it takes. It's just a slight deviation from the path, which we all have. Again, I will be very candid about the fact that throughout my life, I've struggled with things like sexual immorality and the occasional drinking alcohol. Just the nature of what I do for a living, everybody around me, it's like a drinking party culture all the time. People do it nonstop, especially the country that I'm in now. It's just it's probably the hardest place to be if you were trying to avoid that kind of thing. But that's no excuse. For a Christian, we're supposed to be better. So anyway, I just wanted to say, also encourage, if you have any weapons formed against you, you have an even stronger weapon. It's called the sword of God. So if you think about the etymology of the word, S-word, or spoken word is sword. So if you think about where that comes from, when you speak it out, it is a sword. And God has told us that. It literally states it in our language. S-word, spoken word. If you speak words, they're a sword, no matter what they are. If they're negative words, they cut people down. If they're positive words, they lift people up. If they're words from God, they will cut the enemy down like a tree, like at the trunk. His head is cut off, like utterly. There's nothing he can do. That snake's head is stomped on, like Jesus promised us that he would do. So anyway, I just wanted to encourage you and say, keep in your prayer, make sure that you're using the sword of God, the spoken word of God, and that you're cutting down the enemy. Make sure you're praying against your enemy. Make sure you're praying for people, because people aren't our enemy. And I can tell you that after this situation, I noticed an immediate reprieve for that person and our relationship. They immediately turned around once they knew that I had gone through the fire, the attack had come, and I had survived it. They were respectful. They're like, well, I guess it didn't work. And I remained humble. I remained calm, polite, didn't change my behavior towards this person, and the relationship healed. And that is something that I think will always happen, because when a spirit lashes out at you, it's not the person, it's the spirit. And when you cut the head off by speaking the word of God and remaining pure and not attacking back, you heap coals of shame on their head. And they have no choice but to do one of two things: continue to attempt to attack, which is going to make them look worse and worse and worse and worse, and it's going to decrease their positive image and increase yours, or they can stop and you guys will be okay. And that spirit kind of has to leave. It's tried its attack and it's lost the battle, which it always will against Christians. They're never going to win. They're defeated foes. They'll lash out every once in a while, but as long as you stand firm and use the sword, the spoken word of God, you will be okay. With that being said, be blessed, stay in prayer, have a blessed day.